Thank you, sir, for being here. Where were you going before that accident happened? Tell us that part.
I was traveling to Akwa Ibom State.
From where?
From Owerri. I'm based in Owerri. So my pastor has approved my traveling. Come, somebody's looking like me. Does it mean I'm dead? But to cut it short, I finally realized that I'm dead. So me was standing looking at me that is lifeless. Looking for how to help me that is lifeless to come back.
Welcome to Hala of Abuja TV.
But when we got to Aba at the main park, which a lot of us will know, I entered the bus that you people saw the picture and sat at the front seat of the vehicle waiting for the bus to get filled. But I keep hearing a voice telling me, stand up, go to the last row and sit down. I refused because I know how to drive. I love sitting at the front seat of vehicles just to see what the driver is doing. The voice keep persuading. I refused. I would look around. I wouldn't see anybody. It wasn't spiritual. It was loud. And the next thing, I felt the hand of somebody on my right hand arm draw me out of the bus, and I fell down with my back. And there was this fair lady seated by my left side. So when I stood up from the ground, people started laughing at the fact that I'm on highness and all that. But I turned around.
You were on drugs or alcohol?
Yes, sir. And I turned around and looked at the lady that was seated by my left-hand side. The next thing that dropped in my mind, she has a spiritual husband. And the spiritual husband doesn't want me to sit close to her.
Okay, you thought it was spiritual husband?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I never knew that God was just trying to preserve this body from more damage than it was. So I carried my bag, went to the last road that the voice told me to sit, the driver's line, and sat down. Immediately I sat there, there was no voice again, there was complete peace. And the journey, after some time, the bus got filled. We started our journey very well, heading to Akwa Ibom State. And most of us that travel with Hummer bus, we know how they drive. The guy was on a very top speed. People were complaining, me, I did not complain. All I wanted to do is get home early. So I fixed my earpiece and started playing game with my phone.
People, you were playing game with the phone?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
People were busy shouting at him. Oh, me, I did not say a word. So even the person that sat by my side, I said, you people should just leave the guy. Maybe we get home early. Because it was getting late. When we got to a place called Odorikot, at a crossroad, with that speed the guy was, a trailer that do carry cement, but has finished uploading, wheeled from the right side into the road, and our driver saw it with shock, tried to hold the brake of the bus, only to realize automatic brake failure. The brake wasn't working again. So somehow he was able to dodge to the other side of the road, only for us to encounter an oncoming truck again, filled with cement, on a top speed, descending towards us. And you cannot go to the left-hand side again because there is a deep pit that if he falls in, nothing will come out there. So it was a situation whereby whatever you believe, you call on that person that moment. Some people call on Jesus, other people call the name of their parent, but me, a pastor, I couldn't even open my mouth to call on God. I was just looking at the whole incident. I don't know whether to call it shock, but the next thing is that I heard the sound, boom, and that was it. The next thing is, I found myself standing outside the bus. How I came out of the bus, I don't know. Who brought me out of the bus, I can't tell. I was worshiping God, thanking God for saving my life from a fatal accident like this. Because I look at it, the bus was under this truck, this trailer, and the trailer climbed it and crushed it down. That is when I knew why the voice told me to stand up and go to the last row and sit down. Because the driver and the two passengers in front, they couldn't remove their head or any part. Everything crushed them, that the brain popped out and was scattered like meat everywhere. They were using shovel and other iron to remove human parts, stock it up in a sack bag. So how do those people even be presented to the family to tell them your loved one is dead? The greatest blessing is the blessing of life, that when you go out there and come back, you give God praise. You don't know what God has done for you, because it's not by our carefulness.
Okay, you were outside thanking God for saving you.
Yes, sir.
What happened?
As I was thanking God, worshiping God, suddenly people that were traveling in the bus with me were at the crossroad, crying and weeping bitterly.
Now, he was on one side of the road. He saw other people that were inside the bus on the other side of the road crying. Yes.
So I said to myself, okay, let me go and talk to them and encourage them. So I crossed the road down to where they were. I started talking to them. I said, you people should not cry. What you should do is to join me to thank God for saving our lives from a fatal accident. If we were dead, you wouldn't be here crying. But instead of them to listen, it was as if what I said did not make sense. And at this point, it was still getting dark. And I will explain why nothing changed at that moment. So I just said to myself, okay, all of you know where you came from. When you finish crying, you will pack your things and go home. Me, I'm going home. It's getting late. As I was crossing the road back to the accident scene where I would get my bag, a Camry car passed through me. I only felt it like air, but did not knock me down, not even a scratch. And the next thing I said, I had an accident. I did not have any injury. And now a car just passed through me. I only felt it like air. Nothing happened to me. That means the scripture that says, I shall pass through the fire. The fire shall not burn me, has just been a reality in my life. I never knew.
Everybody come there, you need to hear gist. I'm sure you are learning about the inward man, the spirit man, and the outward man. Okay, continue, sir.
I never knew that something has happened to my body. So when I crossed the road, a lot of people feel the accident scene and wanted to see how to pull the bus out from that truck so that they can get people out. But then I did not know. So as a young man, I said, let me go and help them. When I went to the place and stood, stretched out my hand to touch the bus, my hand was going through the metal body of the bus, but couldn't touch it. And the painful part is where I was standing, another person came and stood the same place. I was the one feeling uncomfortable, as if they brought two magnets together. It was going front and back, but couldn't stand still. I had to walk away. And I was trying to comprehend what has happened. I touched my pocket. I couldn't find my phone. I couldn't find my wallet. So I needed to look for these things. So I turned around to where I sat down. Immediately I put in my head. At this point, they put up the bonnet of that bus because it was crushed down. I saw somebody that looks like me. The same pattern of hair, the same clothes I'm wearing, the guy is wearing it. My bag that I'm looking for is on top of the guy's lap. The only difference, I wasn't wearing shoe, only clothes. But that guy is wearing my shoe. My earpiece is the one with it. The only difference is that that guy is in pool of blood. Blood was coming out of the nose, the mouth, the ear, and the hand was twisted, broken. The same people I crossed the road to talk to at the other side are still the same people inside the bus. So I can't remember having a twin brother on earth. How come somebody's looking like me? Does it mean I'm dead? But to cut it short, I finally realized that I'm dead. So me was standing looking at me that is lifeless. Looking for how to help me that is lifeless to come back for us to join together. But there was that separation that I couldn't help. As we were there crying, I now understood why they were crying before me. They already realized that we've crossed over. And immediately I knew that I'm dead. Everything changed. There was nothing like night. There was nothing like day. There was nothing like sun. There was nothing like moon. Everything was just like that. And I joined them to cry even more than they were doing. It was as if we are competing who is going to cry the most. But then what we needed was God's intervention. At that point, I said to myself, we are only two in the family. And I'm the eldest. How are my parents going to survive it? They can't take this news.
And
God,
he was traveling to go and see his parents.
I said, God, I can't die. I am too young to die. But brethren, nobody's too young to die. Nobody's too old to die. Everybody's qualified to die. But are you dead in Christ? So suddenly, when that thing was happening, I had a siren blowing. And I looked. It was an ambulance. When they got to the accident scene, the first person they brought out of the bus was my body. They dragged me out. That even the broken glass was cutting some part. And I was telling the person dragging me to be careful. The person wasn't hearing me. He wasn't seeing me. He never noticed me. They led me in the ambulance. I looked at the address of the hospital. It did not take me a second. In less than I don't know how to calculate that speed. I was in the hospital waiting. Now from where the accident took place down to the hospital is 45 minutes drive. I was now in the hospital waiting for them to arrive with my body. When they arrived, they brought me out, led me on a roller, were pushing me, and me was following me, looking at me that is lifeless, looking for help. They pushed me into the emergency where people were everywhere, but nobody saw me. They were seeing that one lying there. So immediately I started begging the nurses, whatever you can do, I don't want to die. They were not hearing me. They were not seeing me. Immediately the doctor came to check. The next thing is that they started sharpening something and putting it on my chest 3 times. It wasn't working. And he said, he's dead. See how you can get across and get him to the mortuary. I shouted at him, but he wasn't hearing me. I rushed to hold the doctor because he was walking away from my own bed. But immediately I made that move. I was in front of him. He was behind me. I turned around to hold him on his chest. He walked past my body and I turned around. I couldn't help. I started saying, what is this? I screamed in that hospital, shouted, but all these people were not seeing me. As I was screaming and shouting, an elderly man walked up to me and said, why are you disturbing the peace of this environment? I said, can you hear me? He said, yes. Can you see me? He said, yes. I said, then why is everybody making me feel as if I'm dead? He said, the reason I can see you is because I'm dead. You are dead. Come, let's follow your body. Let's know where they are taking you to where it is. I now understood that over there, nobody is interested in what you feel. Because once you cross over, it's all about you and your maker. All these, I want to die. Death is the most loneliest and painful thing you can ever think, except you die in Christ. So when we got to the place, they brought me down from the roller in the mortuary, kept me, tore off my clothes where I was lying down, used APCs to cover me because they were still keeping me outside. And the mortuary had 2 sections. And the man said, okay, this is where they are keeping you, so let's move. I followed him. We went, there was a bench in that hospital where we sat down. And as we sat down, we were discussing. He was telling me some things, how long he has been in the mortuary, what happened that he has not been buried, that he has not rested yet. A lot of things that wasn't really making sense at that point. I told him, okay, let me go home and see if I can inform my people. He was now sending me a message to his own people. I said, but you said I'm dead. He said, this is how we do here. So that if you are lucky to wake up again, you can go and deliver the message for me. So I left him, or while we were still talking, some people that came to visit their own patient came and just saw an empty bench, not knowing that two ghosts are sitting there. They just sat on top of us. We were now the one that stood up for them. When we stood up, I left the hospital down to the house. So I got to the house, walked through the gate, walked through the iron door of the house. Nothing could shield me anymore. My dad was eating a goosey soup. I can still remember very well. Wearing a white singlet, a sky blue short knicker at the dining table. So I greeted him, "Daddy, good evening, sir." Because when I left, it was evening. My dad did not hear me, did not see me, never knew that I'm around, but he was expecting me. I greeted him again. He did not say a word. So I got angry. I wanted to put my hand in the soup, push something, create a scene just to get his attention, but I couldn't. And my mom just finished serving my dad food, came out of the kitchen. Immediately she came out, I saw her and I said, "Mommy." I raised my hand to hug my mom. My mom walked into my body. The next thing she screamed, "Jesus." So my dad,
Many a time, women are more sensitive spiritually than men. It's a fact. It's a fact. Go ahead.
so suddenly my dad asked him, "What is it?" She said she doesn't know. At this point, my mom felt cold. She started shivering, goosebumps everywhere. My dad said, "But what is the problem?" The next thing my mom told him is, "Call your son." And he said, "But it's not been long we spoke to him. Allow the young man before we call and run down the battery." My mom said, "Just call him." He said, "We'll call, but allow him first. Let me be done with eating." That is how my mom felt sick at that moment. So when I couldn't get the attention, I left them back to the hospital. At that point, they've taken me into the mortuary, dead body standing, casket kept there, me on the floor. I left the mortuary back to the accident scene. Those people were still there, and I joined them to cry. We were crying and being broken. I said, "God, I can't die. I'm too young to die. I want to wake up." While we were still crying and shouting, the ground started vibrating and tore in a triangular form into three places. I was standing alone here, 3 people at my right hand side, and my left hand side was 14 people. It was an 18-seater bus. And nobody can cross. There was just this force that cannot allow you to cross, or by any means. So I screamed, "Earthquake, rapture. Is this how rapture wanted to take place? Where am I going to spend my eternity?" So I know that when we go to heaven, we'll be going up. So I started jumping up. When I jump up, I will come down. I jump up, I will come down. So the reality of hell was before me. Brethren, you might not know the Bible now, but when you cross over, you know from Genesis to Revelation. And your judgment will be before you. You don't need anybody to explain what will happen. You already know where you are going. So at this point, I was crying, shouting. Suddenly, it was as if everywhere changed. The sounds of thunder and all that. And the next thing is that kind of light that is, you cannot compare with anything, filled everywhere. And I turned around, I saw 2 beings. They were tall, huge. No man on earth has that height. And they were wearing a sparkling white. They had a golden hair. And they had wings. They were just flipping their feathers as if they want to fly. And I said, these could be angels, but I wasn't so sure. I needed to ask them to know who they were. So I asked them, "Who are you people?" They just smiled at me and separated into 2. Nobody answered me. One to my right hand side, the other to my left hand side. I kept asking, but there was no response. But suddenly, a light that is more than their own, 100 times that even the sun is low current compared to that light. It was everywhere that the person we've not seen, but just the light. I saw these 2 beings fell to their knees, used their wings to cover their face, bow down to the ground. So I joined them, knelt down, bent down to the ground. The more the light kept coming, the more it seems like I was getting lighter, like things were leaving me that I can't just explain. And I started begging the direction of the light without knowing who he was. I said, "Please, whoever you are, turn down your light. It's affecting my eyes. I'm a human being like you." And the person did not say a word.
You told the person that you're a human being like him.
Yes, sir.
And you should turn down the lights.
Yes, sir. I never knew that it was Jesus coming in his glory and supremacy. I kept begging. There was no response. At a point, I felt the presence of a being around. He just said, "Victor, rise." I said, "Please, turn down your light. I can't. It's affecting my eyes. I'm a human being like you. Help me." He did not say a word. He just waited. But suddenly, there was this courage to look up, which I know he gave me that courage to really look up and know who he was. When I looked, the garment he was wearing covered his foot that I did not see his foot. But it was full of glory that I don't have the words to describe. I looked till I arrived at his waist. He was wearing a golden belt. More than anything you can measure, with spreading 2 of his palms. But on that palm, there was a big hole. Blood was still gushing out of that hand. And when that blood was dropping, I got terrified. Who could this person be? I removed my face. I kept on looking. When I arrived at the chest, I couldn't go further because the kind of light coming from his face is like fire and it's like light at the same time, that you cannot create out a picture of his face at that moment. But I saw something engraved on his chest with a golden ink, King of Kings. Something dropped in me. This could be Jesus, but I wasn't so sure. So I wanted to ask him to know who he was. But before I could open my mouth, he started introducing himself to me. He said, I am he that was dead, but I live forever. And each sound he made, they were trembling, that even the angels were still kneeling down, bowing to the earth. They were not looking at him, talking to me. And I continued. He said, from age to age, I remain the same. I am the King of kings and the Lord of lords. I am the creator of the whole universe. And he said, behold, I have the keys of heaven and hell. I have overcome death. I have overcome grave. I have overcome the world. He raised up his two hands and said, I am Jesus. Brethren, I never knew that the man we talked about was standing before me. I started shivering at that point. I did not know what to say. But I remember that something brought me here. And I asked him, am I truly dead? And he said, not really, but for just 25 seconds. That 25 seconds turned to be 3 days on earth. He turned around and looked at the angels. He said, take him on the 25 second journey. I will be with you people soon. We did not see him again. And the angels turned around and said, Victor, we are mandated to take you on a 25 second journey. Come with us. I followed them. We climbed on a flat lift. The thing I don't know what to call it, looks like crystal, like glass. And he started lifting us up. That we got to a very high mountain.
See, they are traveling their spacecraft in that other world. They are flying horses, all kinds of things, you know. Yes, go ahead.
We got to a very high mountain. I don't know which mountain is it. They did not give me the name. They asked me to come down. I came down. And they said, Victor, on this mountain, you can see the whole world. Look down. Tell us what you see and get the message. I looked down the first time. Billions of people were just going to their normal businesses and activities. Nothing. So I turned around and told them, this is what I saw. They said, look deep and tell us what you see. I looked the second time. It was still the same thing. They said, though these people look like swines that have no control, look deep down. There are few that have control. When I looked down the third time, I saw that a little handful of these billions, anything they do, they look up to the sky. Somebody would drive and look up to the sky. When I turn around and tell them, this is what I saw the third time, they say, yes, that they feel that I saw that a little thing they do, they look up to the sky, are like the 5 wise virgins. They are the people with the consciousness of heaven. They are the people that are waiting for the coming of Jesus. But that the other ones that are busy going to the abnormal world activity are like the 5 foolish virgins. They are the people that are working with the word the world are using. Man died, go. Woman born, another. But they never sit down to ask themselves, the man that died and go, where did he go to? And the woman will give birth to another. Where would that one end up? And when they said that, they showed me another thing. All this kind of atrocity, war against nation, family, and all that. And immediately I turned around and said, why is heaven so heartless to let this thing to be happening to humanity? They said no. And they said no, that heaven is not heartless, that heaven loves humanity. But that what I'm seeing is the fulfillment of the prophecy of the end time. They say, haven't you read what the scripture says, that at the end time people will become lovers of themselves? And all these things have been written down. And they said, if everything that was written down doesn't take place, take note, rapture will not take place. And immediately they said that. They showed me so many other things, but they took me away. We started descending into a tunnel. That tunnel is very big, very wide, very dark. The odor of the tunnel was oozing that I was so uncomfortable. It was as if I'm being put into fire. The heat I was feeling. And I started begging them. I said, please, take me back to where we came from. I don't want to come here with you people. They said, no, Victor, you need to follow us here for you to know where we are taking you to, how it looks like, what it feels like, and what brought people here. I said, please, let's take another way. They did not speak again to me. And they talk only when they are permitted. They don't talk when they are not permitted. They don't engage into discussion with me. Suddenly, we got to where my 2 legs were stable on the ground. And the same light we saw filled everywhere, we saw it again. When we turned, it was Jesus. We bowed down and worshipped him. And he came close to me and said, Victor, I'm going to show you my divine revelation of hell. I'm going to bring up people to tell you why they are here. I'm going to show you what it looks like, what it feels like. I brought up the first person. And I asked him, why are you here? And Jesus said,
so I hope you are getting the gist. This fire is liquid fire. It's not like bush fire. Anyway, go ahead.
The fire burns like it's just like a volcano. And every moment of your life, there is heating up more and more, more and more. It doesn't reduce. And suddenly, when they brought up the first person, maggot was entering his nose, entering the mouth, coming out of the anus. He became restless. Anything called hole in his body. They were worms and maggot. And it was so terrifying that I couldn't look. And Jesus said, look at him. And I looked. He said, look at him very well, so that you will know what people suffer here. And I looked, even when I was shivering. And I asked, why are you here? And Jesus says,